This is the Blackout Podcast.
Welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get the honor of talking to super interesting people that do super interesting things, like Jessica right here. Actually, you know what? I'll just let you introduce her. Tell us a little bit more about you.
A little bit about me.
Just
A little bit or a lot? No. I mean, well, where should we begin? Well, first of all, I think I'm probably pretty complex, like most human beings. I grew up here in Nova Scotia, just outside of the town of Bridgewater. And now I currently live in Bridgewater. Oh, I mean, how do we define ourselves? I don't even know. It's like extensive. I'm a daughter and I'm a sister and I'm an aunt and all kinds of other things. And I definitely am an artist. I've struggled with kind of using that label over myself because I have not been like to an official training place that gives me that title. But just on observation over my own life, I love painting and being creative, and I love the music arts, and now I'm in the healing arts, and I love dance arts, and I love culinary arts. I think the list of arts is just growing for me, so I'm gaining confidence and just saying, yeah, I'm an artist.
Why were you struggling with calling yourself that? Just because you didn't go to school, like NASCAR or something?
Right, yes. Yep, pretty
Oh,
much. No.
okay.
I mean, I don't know how we, being a daughter, that's like, okay, I was just born into that. But some things I think, society, like, you earn the right to be called a lawyer. You don't just walk around saying I'm a lawyer, right? So struggling with like, what gives me the right to identify as an artist? Is it something that because I have training, or because I've been self-taught, or because it's something that interests me? I don't know. The art world is very, I think, subjective, and there's a lot of gray areas. But at the same time, it is a creative realm, so I think we all should be allowed to call ourselves artists if we
I think so.
love
Yeah.
to be creative.
I think in our own individual ways we all create something, right? So if you make something that makes you feel good, and makes other people smile, I think you've earned that right. I mean, sure, if you wanna go to school to understand the theory behind it, maybe, but yeah, I don't think, especially when it comes to saying you're an artist, you can call yourself an artist anytime you want. Because you create stuff and you do your paintings, and your paintings, I saw them, they look great.
Yeah, thank you.
And so now I know, what's your day job?
Oh, my day job.
Mm.
Well, I have been working in the care sector for a while, and I'm working minimally now because I am studying. I just started school in January, but I have been working with young youth who are at risk. And I work for a company that's basically a place of safety, and is a space basically for the kids to be taken care of and nurtured until there is a long-term plan for them. So our company is, for short-term purposes, is
How
kind of like
long?
an emergency situation of like, oh goodness, we need something for these kids now. And so they come to us.
What is the longest time a kid can stay at the facility?
Well, it's supposed to be short-term, but unfortunately, the resources, the availability for other options is quite limited. So sometimes we can have the kids for a few years.
Oh. When you say long term, so what would be the ideal short term? I guess.
Ideal is like a couple weeks, couple
Okay.
months, because you do want these kids to move on with their lives and be integrated with a family and to school. And a lot of our kids do end up going to school because they're with us for a longer period of time. But it's still not, they themselves know they are in transition. They know that this isn't their, final place of rest. And so, sure, the ideal is a couple weeks to a couple months.
Oh, okay.
But unfortunately, there is a lack of foster parents and a lack of availability, like bed space, in some of the group homes or just other facilities in the province. So, yeah, a lot
Okay.
of times we have the kids for much longer just because there's not other
So
options.
so foster homes. Actually, no, I'll skip that one. But well, so you do that, isn't it? It must be tasking physically, right?
Yes. Yeah, taxing, that's a great word. Challenging, rewarding. I mean, it's a mixed bag, that's for sure.
Mm,
Emotionally, physically, mentally. Um, yeah, it's stimulating. There's
mm,
never usually a dull moment,
yeah.
but can also be exhausting because there's usually not a dull moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you say you're studying on the side now. What are you studying?
I am studying acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine.
What made you decide to study that?
Okay, lots of things. I think sometimes life has a very interesting way, I don't know, of just weaving things together, and you're not even really aware of what's happening until it just happens.
Mm.
So, ever since I was quite young, just even in my early teens, I devoured health books like novels and experimented on myself and did 40-day fasts and all these cleanses and different things. And I would read stuff about the body and about herbs and supplements and think, this is amazing. And I want to see how it works on myself. And so health in general has always been of interest to me.
Yeah.
And I have always had huge respect for, I want to say, any modality or philosophy or ways of healing that really view the person as a whole.
Mm.
And traditional Chinese medicine certainly does that. I totally believe, that everything is so interconnected that, we cannot separate our mind from our body, from our soul, from our spirit. Like, our relationships, our environment, everything is so, yeah, interconnected. And so when I was looking at, changing careers, I was looking into other health things like massage therapy and other, I was looking at becoming a nurse, but that's a little too not holistic. So I end up running into a childhood friend, and she had studied massage therapy, and then I knew that she was studying acupuncture as well. And so I just wanted to pick her brain. And, in that one conversation, she totally had won me over. And then I continued to do my own research, and it just was like, absolutely, it just resonated that this was the perfect fit for me. And I just started in January, and I love it. I
Wow.
mean, it's challenging. There's lots to learn, and it is definitely overwhelming at times. But I, I don't know if other people do this, but I literally cry sometimes when I'm reading my textbooks because I
Wow.
just think this is so amazing. I mean, the body, the world, like everything, the micro, the macro systems, it's just so phenomenal. And
Mm.
I just cannot help but be in awe. And yeah, sometimes I cry. because it's just so amazing.
So you say you started this year?
Yep, started in January.
Okay. How long is the course for?
The course, you can take it in 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And so I have opted for the 2-year program. So there's moments I think, oh dear, maybe I've bitten off more than I can chew.
So it's super intense.
It's intense, yes.
So
But
I'm gonna ask a quick question about acupuncture. How does it work exactly?
okay, that is a great question. And I am not sure if I'm going to do it justice just because I'm just in the beginning stages
Yeah.
of learning, but I will do my best. So, one of the classes that I just had was all on meridian theory.
What's
And
that?
so there's this concept that we have what they call meridian lines running all through our bodies. And these meridians are associated with the different organs in our body. And there are points along these lines that when you can, we also do acupressure, so you can put pressure on these points or stick a needle to get a little more intense work done. And so if the body is in harmony and balanced and working the way it should be, then we should have thriving health. Most of us don't have thriving health. And so we believe that then this means that there's stagnation, there's blockages, something is not in harmony. And so by using the needles in these specific points, we can release blockages, we can help loosen up stagnation so that chi and blood can start flowing
Okay.
and creating health and harmony in your body.
Is it painful? Because needles are going inside your skin. is it painful? Because
Is
needles.
it painful? Oh gosh. Okay. I want to say no because I'm entering into this and I don't want anyone to get scared of pain or something. But there can be uncomfortable spots. Some points on the body are automatically already known to be a little more sensitive and tender. There are some points on the hands and feet that can be a little more, sensitive compared to maybe a point on your arm or something.
Okay.
Now, I have had multiple treatments and I've had stuff on my feet, hands, legs, back, stomach, ears, face.
Yes.
And my ears, yep.
Do they, but those are those needles are really thin and stuff. Do they don't they fall off or something? In the ear, I'm trying to wonder.
Well, there's little needles that go into your ear. I also have a little ear seed. I don't know if you can see that.
Your hair is actually
Oh,
covering
is it covering it? Do you see that little gold?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is an ear seed.
What was that supposed to do?
So instead of, I can have a needle, but then I can only leave it in for, 20 minutes or so. But the ear seed I can leave on for days. And so this point actually is to help ground you and center you. So, if I'm getting a little anxious, then the seed is already on there in the right spot. And I just kind of push on it. So again, it's not a needle, but it's the acupressure point. And so I just kind of push on that and okay, breathe deep. Let it do its magic.
When you're having a rough day at work or something.
Exactly, yeah. And you don't necessarily need a needle or a seed. Sometimes, this is a great point right here, the third eye point. So I'm just like, okay, I'm stressed out. Let's just give that a little rub. There's points all over, but some are more convenient, when you're in public. So there's certain areas of your body that would just look a little weird if you started, palpitating. But there's points here, just even on your hand, right? Along your wrist that you can just kind of be massaging. If you need to be stimulated, if you're falling asleep, you can tap the top of your head here. This is dew point 20. So this just kind of okay. I need to sometimes in class I'm like, okay, this is starting to get too much, or I'm like zoning out. So then I just start tapping my fingers and tapping my head. And
So that's supposed to kind of wake you up?
yep.
Huh.
So
Okay.
a lot of the points can stimulate different things. So some points are specific to helping, just calm the mind and get centered and grounded to help with anxiety and whatnot. And then other points are to stimulate you, like you need to wake up, you need to be energized. This point right here, if someone has fainted, then pushing on this point then can help bring them back too.
Wow.
So, so then, you don't necessarily, there's no reason to really use that point.
I'm like, oh, you think
unless we're planning to have some fainting bodies here. No. But yeah, the pain factor, I don't know. Everyone has, stepped their toe. Everyone, it's not like excruciating
So what happens
pain,
is it goes in and then it just stays for...
It just stays for like 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. And then it comes back out.
And then it comes back out.
So it hurts twice pretty much.
No, it doesn't hurt coming out at all.
What?
No.
As a kid, okay, so my thing is, I can't remember the last time I got an injection. I can't recall. I had blood taken out. It's not that I don't like needles, it's just I'd rather not have them. So my thing is, I'll tell myself, okay, you're going to get a shot, so prepare your mind. But, with shots, it's just one. Every time I see a video of someone doing acupuncture, it's just not one needle. It's like 20 or more.
Right. Actually, I had a treatment a couple of weeks ago where all of my back shoe points were done along my spine, and it was very relaxing. The needles going in, sometimes I don't even know that the needles are going in. I'm talking to my practitioner and we're just talking about whatever. And I'm curious because I'm learning and I'm like, oh, like, what point are you doing now? And I'm like, did you just put something in? And it's like, oh, yeah, before I know it, I've got 20 needles in me and I didn't even know that half of them went in. Now, sometimes I definitely do know that they're going in. But, I've not, been crying or anything like that. It's just like, ouch, oh gosh, okay, yeah, like that was definitely a poke.
So which body parts hurt?
It can be different for different people.
Okay.
Because sometimes it depends if there is stagnation or a blockage there, then that can create more of a shock sensation.
So the more blocked you are, the more painful it is. Something like this.
Sometimes. It's hit or miss. And this is actually one thing I love about TCM is that every person is an individual. And so what, worked or how one person responded is not going to be the same for the other person.
Yeah.
And so really when you are seeing someone, you have to be in tune with what is happening for them. You cannot use the information that you just practiced on somebody else onto them.
Else, yeah.
And so then you really do have to be sensitive to the person and their needs and what's happening. I had... it was kidney 3 down here on my foot done, and it was whoa! It was a shocking sensation, and so I was like, "Take it out!" So he took the needle out, and I was like, "Wow, that was quite the sensation right there." And he said, "Okay, well then." He believed that there was some stagnation there in kidney 3, and then he put the needle back in the exact same spot, and I didn't even feel it go in.
So what did he do something else before that?
It was just the first kind of initial was just like a reaction
okay.
and then went back in and I didn't even know. So it's interesting. The body is amazing, and it was just maybe it blocked that much, and that just one little prick, and it wasn't even in there for any length of time, just kind of helped dispel some stuff, and then the needle was able to go back in and work its magic.
If someone is walking the thing, they must have a ton of needles, right? So if I use a needle for you, I'm not going to use a needle for someone else.
Oh no!
Yeah.
That happens. Sometimes people maybe in other countries or other practices, there are reusable needles. But in our school, in our clinic, and I think pretty much across the board in Canada, we use disposable. So
Yeah.
it's one-time use
It's gone,
in
yeah.
one person's body, and
Yeah.
it goes out and into the garbage.
Yeah.
So no worries about cross-contamination or anything like that.
Okay. The other thing is, do people bleed?
I mean, sometimes there can be a little, like, drop of blood, but rarely
Okay.
ever. I
How
mean,
deep does those needles look long, but how deep do they go? Okay, maybe not that long, but long.
right? They come in all different sizes. Because depending on where they are going on the body, of course, you can go way deeper here, like in the leg, compared to, like, if you're doing something up here by the lung, then you're going to be going really shallow because you don't want to puncture a lung.
That would be an event.
Yeah, and then even like, on the hand here, I mean, there's only the depth that you can go is not too much. So we have needles of all sizes for various parts of the body and different points, which I have not learned yet, but I will be learning the depth and all of that and what needles to use. I just had a facial acupuncture treatment last week.
How many needles went in your face?
I'm not sure how many, but I know I had like some here, like around my eyes, in my cheeks, several on my forehead. And I mean, I had like needles this big. I mean, they were just tiny. She had to like use some little tool to kind of pick them up. And now, ironically enough, those small ones hurt. No, I mean, not unbearably, but as a woman, right? What do they say? No pain, no gain, right? So this actually was a beauty facial treatment. So I was like, oh, wow. I didn't know that acupuncture could also just be for beauty.
So you put in there for the beauty one. How long is it there for?
Well, because this was at my clinic and this was the student clinic, it was just like 20 minutes. But I mean, normally it can be like 40 minutes.
So wait, you get there, you get on the bed, right? I guess.
Oh, no. No beds. No beds.
No bed.
We are constantly reminded, and there are certain things that happen in a bed, and those things do not happen in clinic. We have tables. So whenever somebody says a bed, it's like, no, a bed is used for one thing and other things, and we have tables here.
Okay, so table.
Make the distinction.
Okay.
So yes, you come into clinic, we take your name, you fill out the, forms, all that kind of stuff to get that legal stuff out of the way, make sure you don't sue us or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we do like an intake and read your pulse and read your tongue.
Tongue.
Yep.
What
Here, let me take a look at your tongue right now.
Oh, God. Wait, let me drink water first.
Okay. No. Okay, let me see. Okay. Interesting. Okay, well, I am just started my new semester and I'm learning taking like the pulse and learning some diagnostic stuff and learning how to read the tongue. So I know that you have some spleen issues.
Okay.
But, I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
But anyway, you can come in for a full-on consultation and treatment.
I come in. What happens then? I come in.
Okay, so you come in, we take your pulse, we read your tongue, we ask you questions about like your sleep and all of the personal kind of stuff, like your bathroom routine stuff. All those fun questions. And we have been already told, make sure to keep eye contact when you're asking those questions because you don't want to be like, okay, so looking at your, own hands, getting all uncomfortable. So how are your bowel movements? So we'll ask you all those interesting questions.
Yeah.
And, just about work, sleep, relationships, because again, like our emotions, our living environment, the stress, certainly can wreak havoc on our bodies. We already know that. And so you might come in saying like, oh, I've got some tummy upset. And maybe that is because you have spleen and stomach issues, right? And we need to strengthen that. And we'll look at diet, or herbs. But also, let's say, like, what do you do for work? What is your living environment? Because sometimes that might be more of the issue. And not that we can't help support your body with, food choices and herbs and acupuncture treatment. We certainly can, because sometimes we don't have the options of like, quitting our jobs, even if they are stressful.
Yeah.
So we're going to support you in the other ways. But being able to identify that maybe your job is contributing to your digestion problems. So you can be looking at what your long-term plans might be.
Oh, okay. And then does someone just get an acupuncture or whatever right away? Like after the consultation?
Yeah.
Oh, so when you go there, you pretty much know you're pretty much when you go to the clinic, you pretty much know that you're getting acupuncture.
Well, you can sign up for different things. It's not
okay.
like mandatory acupuncture, because some people are just like, no way. But there's other things that can be very helpful, like fire cupping, and there's different massage
What
things.
does that one do exactly? Because I see people do it, but you just have a red mark on your back, and that's it.
I know, it's so cool. Don't you want one? You'll make everybody jealous. Like, holy moly, where did you get that huge hickey?
The person must have a super huge mouth to do that.
Oh God, no. I love it. Again, just there can be stagnation and blockages. And so this can just help release things, get blood flowing. Certainly, there are things like if you're pregnant, you should not get fire cupping.
No?
Because it can, maybe induce labor, different things. It can stimulate parts of you that maybe should be stimulated.
But here's what I saw. I think I saw a video, right? The person lies down, then you hold a cup or something, then you kind of light fire inside it, and then it sucks the person's back, and then.
Yep. And you can, primarily it's usually done on the back, but it can happen all over the body. I've had fire cupping done on my stomach. So in certain parts, it can help with bowel movements, menstruation, digestion. So there's different parts of your body. If you have lower back pain, then fire cupping on the back side of your knee is very helpful.
Oh.
So there's all kinds of different points that can help, like in whatever the issue is. And a lot of times, like if people have had a stroke or something and there's like, partial paralysis or something on the face, cupping can really help with bringing back some mobility. And so usually there's different kinds of techniques. So there is just like the suction cup, kind of putting the cup on and leaving it for 20 minutes, which then does leave these marks, which of course go away. But you can do quick cupping. So then you're just putting the cup on and then kind of snapping it off and putting the fire under it again and then putting it off. So then it's not going to leave this like red bruise.
Yeah,
and so you just kind of quick on and off. So then it is still stimulating the area, getting the blood flow.
Oh, okay.
And so usually that's what you would do in the face, because you don't want to be having some big mark on the face, right?
Yeah, that would be weird.
And then there's sliding cupping too. So usually, that happens on the back a lot, which feels amazing. So you just get some cream, and then you put the cup and you slide it along the back. And so a lot of times, I mean, a lot of people have a lot of tension in their upper back and whatnot. So just kind of sliding the cups along
With no
those areas.
fire thing, whatever. Like, what does the fire do exactly? Is there anything in the cup that gets activated or something?
Well, the cup is just a plain glass cup, and you have like a tongue kind of thing, and you have cotton ball on the end of it, and you dip it into alcohol, and then light that on fire, and the
So,
heat just kind of creates a suction,
oh,
and
gotcha.
then stick it on the stand. Now there are cups that do not involve fire, and it just comes with this little pump, and they're like silicone and plastic, and just use this little pump machine.
Which one is better? Well, I mean, I know you're just starting, but which is better, the fire or the machine one?
Well, I'm sure lots of people would have their opinions about what's better. I mean, some, you know, believe, that there's like an energy element to the fire, which adds extra benefits.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, for myself personally, I do have a set of glass cups, and I do use the fire.
So
But I have nieces and nephews, and I do not want to. Accidents can happen. You're dealing with fire and people's bodies and alcohol, and and so I just think, I do not want to take the 0.0001% chance, like, especially when I'm thinking like children, right? Do not want anything to go wrong. I don't want anything to go wrong on adults. So I think that my plan is, I don't think my plan is to invest in some silicone
oh, okay.
cups, just to kind of eliminate, the one potential.
But it sounds like those cups will have things hanging off them, right? This pump thing, or like, do you pump and then take it off, or?
Yeah.
Oh,
It just kind
oh.
of has like a little nozzle, and you just use this little pump. I mean, some of them are hand pump, and there's all kinds of different ones. But the fact is that they don't involve fire.
Okay. So tell me about your recent trip to China.
Yeah, China. Okay, well, that happened through my school, which was a dream come true. I have always enjoyed traveling, always made it a priority in my life. When I was 14, I went on my first overseas trip, and I thought, oh my God, the world's a big spot. So I want to see it and see as much of it as possible in my lifetime. So that has been happening. And sometimes, of course, like the Great Wall of China, that is, a bucket list thing. And I have my list is never ending of places I want to go and things I want to do and experience. And sometimes you just think, I don't know how any of this is actually going to happen. Yes, of course, there's lots of things in our control, and we can move in those directions. And I have done traveling, but sometimes I feel like life is so surprising in a wonderful way.
Okay.
That these dreams or these things that are in your heart sometimes just happen and are fulfilled out of nowhere. And so, okay, great. I have intentions of going to this school. It was kind of all last minute. I wasn't planning to start this January, but in December I went to their open house, and we talked about me potentially starting in, January, May, or September, and well, they convinced me to start in January, and I thought, okay, great. Let's do it. So literally had a couple of weeks, a month at max, and jumped right in. And a couple of weeks into the school, they had already planned this Chinese trip, or a trip to China, but all of the paperwork had been completed. Like everybody else that was going was, had started in September or was in their year 2 or 3. And so all the paperwork was finished.
Yeah.
And so we didn't even think it was an option for us who started in January to go. And then one day it was like, oh, maybe we can see if we can get you in. Is anyone interested? Interested? Are you kidding me? Yes, absolutely, right? So it was a little complicated because I guess the rules changed as of January 2019. Everyone else just had to kind of file their paperwork and send it off to Ottawa to get their visas and whatnot. But as of January 2019, you now have to go to Ottawa in person to get your fingerprints done and apply for your visa. So there was a lot of paperwork and a lot of, last minute things and traveling to Ottawa in one day and back and waiting for approval for the visa. And it was down to the nitty gritty at moments. And, but I think like 2 weeks before the China trip. I mean, I already had the ticket bought because I had to, right? But I mean, I got insurance just in case my visa didn't come through. And then got it in the mail. Like, okay, great, we're going. So went to China. There was 14 of us all together. And a trip of a lifetime. I was totally impressed. It was absolutely amazing. We spent a few days in Beijing, flew into there, saw the Great Wall, of course, which... I mean, that was definitely one of the highlights for me. Now, you're in places like this, which are just breathtaking. They're magnificent. And it is a trek. I mean, it is so steep and it's up and down. And I'm like, I mean, I think of myself as fairly fit, but I'm like, oh my God, okay, like... Getting up some of these steps, they are so steep and it's just like up and down. And so there is this phenomenal sense of accomplishment. Like, I did it and I survived. But it's also very, I don't know, it's solemn, it's sacred, it's kind of grievous. I don't know. It's a mixed bag because it took like 2,000 years to build.
Oh, wow.
And right there, I'm like, that's amazing that, someone had a vision and that from generation to generation, they kept that vision. And I'm like, I mean, in this day and age, it's like, we're lucky if it's like, well, hopefully the grandkids carry that out, this tradition out or something. I'm like, this takes real visioning and like, wow. But also, it's a big gravesite.
Is it?
Because you were mandated to go work on the wall and you never returned home.
So you worked there till you died, or you grew old and died, or what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean...
So, but when they are buried, or when they die, they don't go back home?
Right, yeah. It's just like you are mandated to go work on the wall, and that is where you spend the rest of your life until you basically...
So is it more like punishment, or...
I don't know. I can't speak into any of that. I just grabbed onto a bit of what our tour guide was saying, and I was just like, oh my gosh, these are elements that I never even considered, right? But of course, yes, it makes sense. I mean, how was this even built to begin with, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, slave labor. I mean, I guess it still exists in our day and age, and it looks different in its different forms. And so it's not, it's a grief that happens in this day and age, but also a grief that has happened throughout history. And so when you're in these places, yeah, it's mixed emotions, because it's like, wow, this is really phenomenal and I'm so grateful to be here, but at high costs. Like, this is literally, I don't know how many people, how many lives were sacrificed for me to be walking on this wall. So I don't know. I don't even know how to work. I think I'm still kind of wrestling. I don't know. How do you have such excitement, but such kind of grief at the same time? I don't know. Maybe that's the yin and the yang or something.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the things about being human, is that we have to find our own way to navigate all those complex emotions, because we just have to. Or if we don't, there's always that chance of a mental breakdown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A mental breakdown, yeah. Oh my, that's my daily thing. How do I navigate this human existence that
So,
I'm having?
now, I mean, during your trip to in China, did you learn more of the? I mean, you're in China. That's pretty much the home of what your learning came from. So,
Yeah.
how did you do any? I know it was through your school stuff. Did you do any learning there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a lot of, just the normal touristy stuff. But we went to a university in Xiamen and had multiple lectures, to do with herbs and lifestyle and acupuncture and acupressure and child massage techniques and all kinds of stuff. So it was also, a learning experience, but also just fun and frivolous and all that good stuff too. But one thing I really appreciated seeing, we went to several clinics and hospitals, and I mean, I feel like, I'm new to this world, so I don't know if my observations are entirely correct or not. But what I get the sense sometimes that when I talk about, acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, even using the word traditional, right? That sometimes there's this idea that it's this like backwards, ancient, weird voodoo thing that like has no place for civilized, 2020 kind of civilization, right?
Yeah.
But being in China, going to these state of the art hospitals where, yes, they have all the regular Western, medicine and technology and equipment that we have here, but in the same, space, okay, here's, the surgery ward, and here's this ward, and then here's acupuncture, and here's moxibustion, and here's fire cupping, and it has the same, you know it's valued and it's honored, and the respect that it deserves, it is being given it there. And it's not like, oh, well, that's that. And they have to have their own separate clinic or something. It's
Yeah.
honored, and it's, okay, let's again look at the person as a whole and what are their needs, and can moxibustion help? Can acupuncture help? And if not, if surgery is required, okay, great, let's do surgery. But sometimes surgery isn't required, and sometimes sticking a few needles in someone can relieve their pain, right? And they
Yeah.
don't need to take, medication, which can, harm their liver. Doing some acupressure points is not going to harm your liver, but it can relieve your pain. So I really appreciated seeing, as a culture, just the honor and respect that, it's given. Of course, I can't. If that's where it originated, so I expect that they would honor it. But that, even in this present day, it is on par with all of the modalities, the ancient ones and the modern ones, and that that's something I really appreciate. That it doesn't have to be one or the other, or this against that.
Yeah.
But that if we can really, just work together, and yeah, that it's not, I don't know, whatever, the arrogance, the ego that comes into play sometimes, that,
Yeah.
well, this is the only way, and this is the best way, and this is the
Yeah.
superior way. But it's like, no, let's work together. Let's look at the individual and what their needs are, and really see how we can bring them into, thriving and health. And if that requires, surgery, then great. Obviously, acupuncture is not going to be able to help there. But if
Yeah.
you've got a headache, well, like, you don't necessarily have to take pharmaceutical drugs. Let's do some acupressure points.
Okay. I'm gonna end with this though. Well, I mean, I know you're gonna sing a song, do some of your poetry. How? What are some of the things that inspire you?
Oh, inspire me.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay. Okay, well, first of all, I love nature.
Mm.
I grew up in the country, and so just like going into the backwoods was just normal occurrence. And living near the beach, just to go for walks in my bare feet and just be there in this kind of calming environment. I definitely find inspiration in nature, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have 5 nieces and nephews,
Mm.
and they are definitely inspirations for me. I mean, humanity in itself is inspiration. I mean, everyone is so diverse and amazing and complex, and but when these little human beings, that I can call my own, are there and they grab my face and they look into my eyes, they say, "I love you, Honey Jess." Like, I don't know what gets more inspiring than that. Just to see their innocence, and their curiosity for life. I mean, just that alone is inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, yeah, life is tragic and painful and grievous and amazing and joyful and exhilarating and so diverse. Life itself is inspiration. And I hate to say love because it's kind of cliche, but in the last few years, I have had a lot of grief and sorrow and lost a lot of people. And some just, yeah, tragic things have happened. And when I think about love, I mean, and even with what I'm learning, with traditional Chinese medicine, these the philosophies of when we're talking about yin and yang, and that we only can know one because of the other. And if we want to expand and we want to grow,
Mm-hmm.
then if we're doing that in a holistic way, then it encompasses it all. And so pain, it can be a great inspiration and it can take us into some really dark spots, but at the same time, it has the ability to expand our hearts
Mm-hmm.
for greater capacities to love and to have compassion. And so, I mean, who wants to be in pain, right? But I mean, who doesn't want to know more love,
Yeah.
right? And so, again, just trying to navigate through all of this and what does this mean, and trying to make peace with these polar opposites, but knowing that they are both so necessary for growth and expansion and inspiration and just even having hope in life. And yeah, I mean, but yeah, nature, kids, pain, love, those are my greatest inspirations.
Oh wow! Thank you very much, Jessica.
Thank you.
So we'll let you sing now.
Okay, so of the song, I will say my nieces and nephews inspired the song. So
Oh
it
wow!
is, I wrote it for them. So it's kind of fun, childlike.
It's great. Can't wait to
Yeah.
hear it.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Fly in the sky, fly so way up high, and fly way down low. I wish for you to go to those places beyond the rainbows. To run wild with your mind, oh, the places you will find. Wonderful your eyes, oh, the secrets far and wide. Oh, to fly, oh, to slide and climb the rainbow. And may the innocence in your heart, may it grow deep and old. And may the innocence in your heart, may it grow into the light and watch darkness take to flight. The space of pure delight is always there inside the beauty of the rainbows. Watch the sun, watch the moon, watch the ever-changing mood. Send a kiss, send a wish, be ever present with all of this life and its gifts. And may the incense in your heart, may it grow deep and old. And may the incense in your heart, may it grow deep and old. Stand for peace, stand for love, stand for all that's from above. Sing the song and stay strong, extend the saving arm, for there's a promise that won't see defeat. There's a hope, there's a faith, there's a grace for you to take. And if ever you lose sight or the ugly tries to bite, find the rainbows and they will lead you home. And may the innocence in your heart, may it grow deep and old. And may the innocence in your heart, may it grow deep and old. And watch the sun, watch the moon, watch the ever-changing mood. Send a kiss, send a wish, be ever present with all of this life and its gifts.
This is the Blackout podcast. Thanks for listening.